And welcome to EMS Underground. I'm a little downplayed this morning because, well, I guess it's noon for the rest of the world on the East Coast, but for me, it's morning. And that's how I roll. This is EMS Underground. I am Charles McFall, the media specialist here at Georgia EMS Institute. So, actually, it's Georgia Institute of EMS, but that's what you get when I only have had half a cup of my coffee. That's how it goes. Ask a paramedic anything. If you've seen this before, you know how it goes. I got to get my share on. I got to get my likes and my hearts on. So that's Facebook for you. This is a discussion. This is a discussion more than it is a show. So a show is I just do everything and I know exactly what I'm going to do. Here, it's just I'm live. I'm on Facebook. I'm here to answer questions and interact with all of you lovely people who are willing to type in questions and give your histories and that kind of thing. This is about EMS, but all are welcome. And that's actually what I'm going to be typing if I can get my computer to catch up here. This is about EMS, but all are welcome. Okay, but LL Cool J. LL Cool J is welcome. That's cool. Yeah. So give me those hearts, give me those likes, give me those shares, because that's how this goes. You know how this goes. This is indeed Facebook EMS Underground's how we do. So let me get it popped up so I can see the chat really well. Everything's moving a little slow today. I don't know what that is, but it is what it is. Come on, Facebook. If I can't see the questions, I can't do the show. Thank you, Facebook. There we go. Starting to catch up. And I'm a little whiny in the morning. That's the way it goes, man. And I do have coffee. I'm drinking more than half a cup. I do have some coffee here. All right. Well, Facebook's being laggy, but my broadcast seems to be doing just fine. I don't know why Facebook's being laggy. That computer's hardwired in. But I do like to see when people come in and type their questions, those kind of things. I don't know what I'm going to talk about this morning. I really don't know. Well, doing things that you like to do or want to do or maybe have to do when you have no energy to do it. How about that? Things shifting up when you have a plan. How about that? We can talk about those things. 'Cause all of that stuff plays into being a paramedic without a doubt. So everybody gets into habits, right? Everybody, one way or another, you get into some muscle memory stuff, you get into habits. That's why everybody I've ever known, ever on a truck, man, this thing, I'm going to hit reload. This thing is just dragging booty, and I'm not seeing any comments, and it just keeps circling on the broadcast, on the Facebook return, rather. Anyway, so I know you're watching. I'm going to keep talking about it. But every teacher, every proctor, every captain, anybody in EMS has always, in my history since 1996, always discouraged putting needles into the seat of the jump bench, right? Because that's an easy thing to do. Now, I love that a lot of needles nowadays come with the auto caps and this and that and the other. But you're still going to have some syringes, typically, maybe not anymore. Maybe things have progressed enough since I was in the field that you'll have different things available to you. But I know there were still some outliers to where we could have a syringe and a needle that was open. Or maybe some of the pre-done, the Abijects and stuff that you get with Epi and all that jazz. Some of those might come with needles, loose needles, but sticking them in the bench is a horrible, 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 horrible habit. Not only is that stuff made of some kind of foam, and honestly, I don't know if it's antibiotic foam or not. I mean, I don't know if it's one of those things that cleans easily. But the thing is, you're poking holes. Basically, you're poking holes in property. Number one. Number two, there is going to see, Shane, I want to talk about that. Let me get rid of this habit real quick. So, the whole sticking needles in benches are bad. You got bloodborne pathogens, you got biohazard, bare minimum, and then you've got the fact that you can stick somebody with it. So we all have bad habits. Now, I might come back to the habits here, but Shane, it's about when is anyone going to push for our protection, allowing us to conceal carry? State office says we're allowed to buy it. But it comes down to county and city policy. Shane, I think that's a horrible idea. I think if you think your protection lies in a gun, then you might need to find a different place to work, a different field to work in. And Tom and I, when they first proposed carry, and I'm assuming now, Shane, be a little more clear if you want to be, but I am assuming that you're talking about the idea that fire and EMS can conceal carry a gun on the ambulance and on the fire truck. That was what I understood the policy to be, because otherwise you have concealed carry in Georgia, I do believe. I've never owned a gun. I've never gone to get certified for a gun. I have nothing against people having their guns. I believe it's a right that everybody can have, and it's fine. Responsible gun owners are really good people. I think there might be a concealed carry in Georgia. I don't know, but dude, a gun on the ambulance is the dumbest thing you have. It's like having a gun on an airplane. The only difference is when you have a gun on an airplane and you shoot it, the decompression can kill everybody. Well, there's still plenty of surfaces to ricochet off in the ambulance, the close quarters. Other states are doing it. Well, see, if you've never owned a gun, you'll never fired a gun. I know I've fired a gun. I have definitely held guns and fired guns and gone to firing ranges. I've never owned one, and I've had some training in them. I do understand. I also understand that in close quarters combat, which is exactly what the back of an ambulance is, you're more than likely going to get shot than somebody else. That's my personal stance. That was Tom's stance when we discussed this a couple of weeks ago when they first put it to the state to be able to carry. Tom, there you go. Tom says, I think it's a can of worms. And I agree, but I can only speak from my personal experience, right? I can speak from my personal viewpoint. I'm not morally opposed to anybody having a gun, right? I'm not morally opposed, legally or morally opposed to paramedics having a gun. I'm practically opposed to it because of most situations you're in. It just for me as a paramedic, I'll be clear, as a lapsed paramedic, but I'm going back to being when I was active, and even now as I teach people and as a proctor, as anything else, my thing is if you're concerned that much about your safety, perhaps you should find a different place to work. Maybe the place you work in makes you feel too dangerous. Perhaps you should find a different field to work in, because when it comes down to it, you're in somebody's home, right, with a gun. And you don't know what they have. And guns escalate situations super, super fast. You know what? Go look up. I want to get you the year. I want to say it's in the early 2000s, around 2007, 2008, the BART, B-A-R-T, Bay Area Rapid Transport, BART shooting. Okay, so the basics of the BART shooting were officers, actually commissioned officers who'd gone through post and everything else, who are expected to carry guns, went to a train station complaint where supposedly, and this is exactly how it was reported, supposedly gang members were getting into a fight on a train. Well, they pulled out a bunch of young people. I don't know if they're gang members or not, but they put out a bunch of young people, and they had them face down, all zip tied, right, hands behind their back. Scene was secured, and one guy was struggling. One guy was fighting. And this is long before the rash of police officers shooting people who maybe didn't deserve to be shot. And I'm specifically avoiding, we are not discussing anything that's happened over the last 2 or 3 years, right? None of the hands up, don't shoot, none of the Tavon Martin stuff, none of that. This is long before that. This is a very clear-cut, highly witnessed, highly documented thing where the officer was 1,000% wrong, and he was found guilty of it. So this is the BART shooting, San Francisco, I believe, Bay Area, which is, I believe, the San Francisco area. So the The people are secured, seen, safe. This one guy's struggling. A senior officer has his knee on this guy's back, right? Doing the instructions, stop resisting, this and that. He's controlling the suspect, if you will, because they're a suspect until they're proven guilty. And the rookie officer pulled his gun and almost shot his partner, the senior officer, shot the suspect twice in the back. I honestly don't remember if it killed him. I don't remember what it did to him. But instantly, and his first thing was to say, I thought it was my taser. And I mean, all the officers immediately pulled, regained control of the situation, right? Took the rookie officer's weapon, all this stuff. The bottom line came down to fear, right? And that's still a close quarters combat. I mean, if you've never been in a subway, it is similar to a MARTA station. I mean, MARTA is not a subway. MARTA is a rail system, right, in Atlanta. But BART is the rail system. But this was an underground part of it. It was a subway part of it. And I think we might have some of that with MARTA. I mean, technically speaking, like there's places, anyway. You're between tracks, right? It's close quarters combat, essentially. Not a lot of place to move. And he almost shot his own partner. He reacted out of fear. He did a dumb mistake. And that's the thing. In any situation, any of us can make a dumb mistake. And this is a guy who is highly, quoting fingers, trained to handle weapons. And he shot this guy unprovoked and out of fear. And honestly, out of mistake. I don't think he pulled it out of hatred. There was never any indication that he was racist. There was never any indication that he intentionally harmed this person out of any spite or ill will. The whole thing that it came down to was he pulled his gun when he shouldn't have. He put his finger on the trigger instead of trigger guard when he shouldn't have, and adrenaline kicked in, and he squeezed a little too hard and shot this guy and almost harmed his partner. That's the issues at hand. I'm not saying that is the only concern. There's tons of things to consider, but I think, to me, that's one of the most important things when Tom says it right. Scene safety comes first. Your partner and yourself safety comes first. And while many people, Shane, might imagine a situation where you're out and you're clear and you can clear your weapon and you can have a distance, to me, that defeats the purpose of why we're there. I want to read what he says here. Shane says, I agree it's dangerous, but at the same time, look at what happened in ATL. Then the guys were held hostage. They could do like other states and create a course, makes us qualified like officers do. They could, and honestly, I would never be a proponent against it publicly, like saying, we need to change the law, this is wrong, we need to fight. I would say, if I'm in charge of the truck, or even if I'm your partner, if I'm in charge of the truck, you're not bringing a gun on my truck. I don't care. Because I feel like we all make our own realities to a point. We all make our own realities. So when I feel like pulling a gun on a truck when we're supposed, or even having a gun on a truck when we're there to help everybody. I mean, I've told this story a bunch of times where Nicole distracted me with their booger hooker thing. The idea is this. Okay, so I've had patients who were lying to me. I mean, they were sick, they were injured. Sometimes they weren't. Sometimes they were just trying to get out of trouble. But they were sick, they were injured, but they were obviously high potential to have something to harm me. Knife, a gun, whatever. They weren't talking to me. And I told them, look, I'm not the cops. I'm here to help you. I've got your back. That's it. My job is the medicine. My job is to make sure you're healthy. Do you have XYZ on you? And they'd tell me yes or no. They'd allow me a quick pat down because I just want to make sure something's not going to go wrong, because God forbid you got a gun tucked into your back or your belt and we hit a bump. I understand guns don't just beep, boom, they go off. I understand that. But I also understand freak accidents can happen. I just want to be aware of the situation. And I tell them that. And I ask them, do you have drugs in your system? Because this is what I would like to do to help you. And it can interact with cocaine or heroin or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I would rather not kill you. My whole point is I feel, and feel is the capital letters there, F-E-E-L. I feel like if I carry something to stop somebody. Now, okay, I will admit, and I'll be honest, I'm coming from a standpoint of somebody 6'6", 350 pounds. I take up a quarter of the back of the truck minimum. I mean, I'm grape ape. You're not going through me, not in a truck, not in a house. And I have some self-defense training, and I have no qualms in hurting somebody else so I go home the next morning. So I understand my situation might be different. I don't know about the ATL, and actually I'm going to try to not distract from the conversation too much, but I am going to try to look up what you're speaking of with this ATL hostage situation. And that's not going to be super easy to do. I type and kind of suck. Atlanta, I'm going to assume it's EMS hostage. But here's the thing. You don't know what could happen. I mean, maybe a gun. Okay, man killed after taking firefighters hostage. This is 2013. Is this story? Is that the one you're referring to? Because that one I do remember. You know, and that was multiple firefighters, and the guy was crazy, and SWAT team went in and took care of it. So okay, I remember this situation. Sure, you can argue that had the firefighters been able to conceal carry, they would have been able to stop the situation. That is a possibility. I don't know, man. I got to tell you, I've worked with too many hotheads, too many people who jump to situations. Too many times the stress is of a night is bringing us down. I mean, how many times do people work in a situation, firefighters, EMS combined, how many times in Atlanta area, where even in Conyers, you can run 20 calls in 24 hours. It's in Conyers, it's less likely to happen, but you'll still run 8 to 10 to 12 calls spread out through the day and the night. And it doesn't matter how many calls you've pulled. If you get up at 3 in the morning, your judgment can, and I always stress the words can, be impaired. I think scene safety comes first, as Tom says, and for me personally, I feel like a gun is automatically always unsafe. You know, what I've seen this happen many times because we don't carry guns, right? But a lot of people carry the Batman utility belt, yeah, where you can take it off, but it has your pouch with gloves in it. It has your radio on it. It has whatever else stuff you want to put on it. I don't know what else. I never wore one. I'm too big of a guy to wear a utility belt. The radio has to come off my hip when I get in the ambulance or any car because it's poking in my side because I'm a big guy. You can call me fat. I don't care. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I am overweight, and I'm a large individual. I mean, I'm as tall. My torso is as long as my legs. I am a very tall and spread out guy. I'm wide in the shoulders, as you can see here on the shot. I'm just big in any sense of the word. So stuff on my hip, it hurts when I sit down. It hits the door. It pushes. Everything I have comes off. But even on skinny people who do that, I've seen them have to take their utility belt off when they're in a car. Where are you going to conceal the weapon is one of my questions. And it's an honest question. This is a discussion, Shane. There is no, why obviously I disagree with your opinion. I'm trying to do it in a way that you can also feel like you can discuss it and freely share your opinion. And I want that openness there. Because I am not the end all be all everything, but I'm on the microphone. This is the show I got to do. I got to tell you what I believe. But what happens when you're in a car holding C-spine and you can't mentally control everything that's going on around you? Where's the gun? What happens when you say concealed carry, so it wouldn't be on your utility belt if you're concealing it. Where are you concealing the gun in a standard uniform? Ankle holster? I could see that. But that's also the furthest way from your reach that you can get a weapon. Most services make you tuck in your uniforms. So a small of the back holster, concealed pancake holster, wouldn't necessarily work. You got to untuck to get to it. So these are logistical questions that honestly come to my mind. Even going, okay, it's cool to have a weapon to protect yourself. Where are you going to conceal it? Because the idea, from what I understand that you're saying, the idea is that you conceal it. Now, with firefighters, you're talking about turnout gear. on top of tucked in uniforms. I don't remember what the firefighters responded to, like what the call was that they responded to in Atlanta when this guy took them hostage. It's not saying in the early part of this article. Let's see. I'm just kind of scanning through it. I thought it said that what they might have been responding to. Here we go. It started in the mid-afternoon. They went to a residence for some type of medical call. So it was a random medical call. So they might not even have their turnout gear on. They might have just been straight up uniforms. Hold on. Sorry. I got to drink my coffee. It's got to fuel me. So a fire engine and ambulance were sent. It might have been a heart attack. They weren't sure, or a chest pain complaint. And it's a regular routine medical call. And they went to the home with the stretcher. And then so immediately they got taken hostage. And that's the thing in this situation. I get why you're referencing this. But in this situation, they go in thinking we're going to save a life. And then they got taken hostage. I mean, if you think about it, if you just straight up think about that situation, one, it said what was sent. One, I want to get it right. Where did it tell me the truck? It was at least it was an ambulance, I think, and a fire truck. It did say what was sent. I just skipped past it. Anyway, let's just say it was an ambulance and a fire truck. That's a bare minimum of 4 grown adults, male or female, doesn't matter. 4 grown adults, 1 person in the house. Apparently, the person was waiting on them. So what I'm saying is they outnumber. It's more than likely 6. If they sent an engine of any kind, you're talking about 3 to 4 minimum firefighters, plus ambulance has 2 people on it. So you're talking about 6 people typically. You severely outnumber the gunman, right? And it comes out that he was crazy, that he had that stuff was going on mentally, that he was super stressed. And it sounds like he might have been waiting on them. A concealed carry is not going to help that. Okay, I'll give you possibly. You're gonna argue back, and feel free to argue back. Feel free to put your points in the chat. That's the only way I can hear what you're saying on your side of it. But the bottom line is you have 6 people versus 1. How did he control them? He had his back to him at some point in time in 4 hours. He had his back to him at some point in time. He let one go to move the ambulance into the driveway, move the truck into the driveway. What I'm saying is there's so many ways to take this guy down without a gun. They never did. How did he control them? Did he make them tie each other up? Somehow he controlled 4 to 6 grown adults, and it's physically impossible in 4 hours, especially when you're crazy and nervous and stressed out. It is impossible to keep your eye on that many people straight up the whole time. So they could have overwhelmed him without a weapon. My question is, you got 2 medics going in full uniform. Where do you hide the gun? Ankle holster. Okay, when he turns his back to you, you shoot him. Okay, that's fair enough in this one situation, but there's a lot more that goes into this. Why didn't they jump him from behind when he turned his back? Why didn't they rush him at one point and distract him? Somebody might get shot. Some people still were shot. There's an officer that was shot in this whole thing. Somebody might get shot, but if you do it right, you're going to minimize the injuries. There's all kind of questions to ask that we don't know the answers to. So this, to me, is not a great argument for why paramedics should carry a gun or firefighters. And the bottom line, I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to read what Nicole has to say. When we have a domestic violence call and suicide calls in our county, the police will clear the scene first. Yeah. But the situation with the hostage was like a medical call. And they say unknown medical call because they didn't release that information in the article, but they weren't sure if it was possibly a cardiac related call or whatever. You're not going to have the cops clear that situation. You might not, if it's in DeKalb or somewhere else where it's very busy, you might not have the cops show up on a medical call because they're busy. He's doing other stuff. My point is this: when you knowingly bring a weapon in, with the mental preparation of stopping some kind of violence or protecting yourself. To me, when I say we control our realities to a point, you're inviting those situations to come in. What do they teach you in EVOC? When you focus on something, you drive towards it. When you stare at something on the side of the road, you drive towards it. Or mentally, knowing that you're going to pull towards it, you overcompensate and drift the other way. Either way, you're not going where you go where you're looking. Is essentially the point. You go where you're looking. If all you're doing is looking at danger, at what could happen to you, you're going to see danger everywhere. To a hammer, everything looks like a nail, is the proverb. And to me, my intent every single day when I got up and got on the truck was, I'm here to make the community a better place, to make people feel safe, to calm the family members down in a situation that is unfortunate, and to save a life when I can. That's the whole code of EMS to me in a nutshell. We're here to help. We don't care about the laws. I don't mean the ones applying to us. I mean, I don't give a crap if you broke the law. I don't care if you're robbing a bank and got shot. I don't care if you're a drug dealer. I don't care, because my job is never the law. My job is to keep you alive and to deal with your medical safety concerns. This is my job in a nutshell. None of that provides for a weapon. And I think the practicality of carrying a weapon is just insane. I mean, it's just way too difficult. There's so many uncontrolled situations you're in because the cops aren't getting in the back of the car to hold C-spine. The cops aren't turning their backs to everybody in the house to do CPR or something like that. The officers are always standoffish and safe because they're watching the situation as best they can for their and our protection, or for everybody's protection, really. So I still stand by, if you really feel strongly that your safety is in jeopardy, perhaps you should find another field to work in, or at least another area to work in. So that's that. Let me talk about the suicide and domestic calls, because that's an interesting thing to jump off of. And if you got any questions, you got comments, this is for you to put them out there. I'm going to say my honest opinion, again, without judgment, hopefully. I know the other day I did go off on this nurse who was all anti organ donation, but it's the way she did it and said it that really chapped me. It really hit my trigger. It hit my trigger, and I snowflaked all over her. I don't know, man. There's definitely times when cops can make situations worse. Every call you go to has potential for danger. You know, I said we're going to talk about this domestic violence calls and suicide calls. I never got a ton of domestic violence, not obvious ones, not obvious domestic violence. It would come out of something else as a call, and then you get in there and went, oh no, this is domestic violence. Okay. You know, sometimes I knew going in, but most of the time it'd be, for injury, arm injury, for this, that injury. And then you show up and like, oh, so how did this happen? And the person's gone. The person was never there on domestic violence calls when I came in. And it's rare to get a domestic violence call, to be honest, even in Conyers where I worked. And it would always, then the story would come out, we got into this fight, this was going on, he hit me, well, the cops are here anyway, so, I might have only had the one domestic violence call, I don't know. Suicide calls, potential suicide calls, I've had a number of. There's one, every situation can be dangerous, so my partner and I got called out to a possible overdose, the police are on their way, the address is up the street from us. And so we pull into what would be the staging area. And when we do that, there's a person walking down the road. And they immediately turn around and walk away from us. And I went, S word. Because I don't swear here on this show. But I did cuss. I was like, blank. I guarantee you that's our patient. And my partner rolled up there too. Because at that point, we basically made patient contact. Maybe I made the wrong decision. I don't know. But we roll up beside her, and sure enough, we're talking to her. The cops actually come in naturally on the other end where the address is, so we have her boxed in essentially. And it's a female. She's, I don't know the age. She's youngish, over 20, under 30, and she's small frame. She's probably average build, so I'd say 5'2", 120, 130 pounds. And my partner was the same kind of build. He was small framed guy. They're about the same height and build and everything. And she's talking about how she took blue footballs, which we had to figure out was Xanaxes. We couldn't get the exact dosage, but we figured the running average dose of a Xanax on the street and blah blah. But she supposedly took 10 or 15 of those because she just wanted to kill herself and this and that and the other. And it was a situation, and like I said, so there's me, 6'6", 350. There's another police officer who's actually slightly taller than me, probably heavier than me, but he's all muscle. Edel, man. Edel. He was an awesome guy. And another officer who was about the same size as us. So 3 really, really big guys. This little girl, physically little, and my little partner. And we're of course we keep her, in a certain area. You admitted to taking pills, which means you're not technically of your right mind. If what you said is the truth, then we have to take your word for what it is. And you did say you wanted to kill yourself, so now that we have to take care of you. Period. The cops are us, so you're not going anywhere. I think it was her family members who called on her. And my partner says, let me try to talk to her for a minute, because she wasn't combative, but she was definitely skittish. She was sketchy. She would stay her distance away. She acted like she was going to run at any given time. So I said, okay, you try to talk to her. And he decides to take her away from us about 10 feet away, and still in the lights of the cars and stuff where we can see him really well, and decided to talk, to have a one-on-one, heart-to-heart with her. And this is a pretty safe situation. We were able to visually, as best we could tell, she doesn't have a weapon, right? She's a physically little girl. I mean, she's no threat to me and the officers at all. I mean, at best, and I wouldn't let her get near me. I'm keeping my distance. So if you have a knife, there's no slippy surprise on me. I was definitely staying back away from it. So it's a relatively considerably safe scene, right? Under control. And my partner's trying to talk to her, and within a minute at most, and we're only a few steps away. I mean, maybe 10 feet away at most. So, we can get to him easily. All of a sudden, I see her reach up, put my partner in a headlock, jump with her feet in the air, and just take him to the ground, WWE style. And I was like, in my mind, I'm laughing my butt off because it's like, holy crap, that just happened. I told officers, you might want to help my idiot partner out, and that's what happened. And so this safe scene turned unsafe in a comical way because he wasn't hurt. He was an idiot, and he learned a lesson the hard way. Instead of following medical protocols and having the officers detain her, he decided he's going to try a heart-to-heart and be the hero, and he got rode like a bull at the rodeo and taken down. So the officers definitely handled it. I mean, they quickly cuffed her, picked her up, put her on the stretcher, and off we went to the hospital. And the whole time, I mean, now I kept trying to tell him that's the stupidest thing to do. She's protocol state. We have to do this. So I let him learn the lesson the hard way. Had he had a gun, how would that change? I don't know. If I had a gun, it wouldn't have changed for me at all. I still would have told the officers, no, you need to go handle that. It's a safe scene can turn unsafe in a heartbeat. I think we need to do everything we can to make it safe. Period. I know there's been situations where I was there on a medical call and everything's going fine enough. Now the family is upset. The patient is unresponsive. They're getting pissed off at me that we're asking the generic questions about drug use and alcohol use and how dare you? It's like this is one of the most aggressive we've had to be with the family is myself and Jamie. Can't remember Jamie's last name, but we got called out for our unresponsive unconscious unresponsive, and the kid's 20, 21 years old. And we walk in, and I mean, before we walk into this house, the front door is open, and I could see people running back and forth. It instantly sets me on edge because they're losing their composure, is the best way to put that. The fact that they're running, and then you hear yelling from inside the house. This is an unsafe. I mean, it's safe, quoting fingers, but this is a scene that is unstable. It's an unstable scene. Somebody is losing their composure very easily, and we don't know what's going on. So we're having to go into this semi-hostile environment. They were happy to see us. We were both white. The family was black. I'm only telling you that to show you what happens next. Because they were okay with us. They were like, oh, come help us. Come. And we come in, and I mean, you could tell he's unconscious and unresponsible. When we do the sternal rub, we're checking the airway, we're moving fast. But as we're moving, we're asking, okay, do you know if he has any drug use? Do you know if he's taking alcohol? And the situation like that turned where, how dare you? He's a star athlete. How? And my partner, who's really great at calming people down, I wish I remembered his last name, but he was really good because my instinct was to yell back at him and like, this is our job and you're an idiot and he's dying and you're blocking us from, that my immaturity and my own damage. And that's the thing, humans carry damage. We carry things with us, stress of the job, damage of growing up a certain way, having had something happen to us traumatic, which happens a lot as a medic and EMT in the field. You carry this damage with you. And my damage was very much similar to his family's damage of they got instantly angry at us and how dare you? And I instantly got angry at them and wanted to yell, get back in their face. And Jamie, he didn't. He's like, man, I just still remember. I don't remember the exact words, but I just remember that tone of voice of very much. If you ever seen the movie Sneakers, and it's a great film, you should watch that movie with Robert Redford in it, but James Earl Jones is in it. And at the end, he's just very, just the epitome of control. Just very James Earl Jones voice, just very smile, calm, but this is how it's going to be. And that's what Jamie did in that moment. He had that voice of, this is how it's going to be. Sir, I apologize for offending you, but these are questions we have to ask. We're just trying to save his life. So I see no obvious gunshots. You tell me he just fell out. This is a medically based thing. And we're also asking you about history of his heart, history of his liver. So to focus on the alcohol and the drugs is going to not allow us to do our job. So I'm like, holy crap, you're amazing. I mean, you just spelled it out calmly with this voice that said, I'm in control. And they did it, calm them down. And the father apologized, and we asked, like, could you please, the sister of the victim, no, the patient rather, the sister of the patient was constantly running and screaming, like, would you please stop her? And they did. The mother grabbed her physically, drug her to her room, and locked the door. I mean, she stayed in there with her, blocked the door, like, it just de-escalated the scene so fast. Then the police show up. For whatever reason, we didn't call them. And, man, when the police showed up, it was a black officer and a white officer. So I'm stressing the colors of the people because to show you it was never race-oriented. It was human damage-oriented. There was nothing to do with race. But when the officers showed up, bam, everything escalated again. And my partner was like, we got to get the hell out of here. And so we already had the stretcher by the time police showed up. And we put him on the stretcher, and we were basically running as fast as we could. And not literally, but we were moving efficiently and with alacrity out the door to get this kid to the hospital because all of a sudden, for whatever reason, the badges set this family off to where I think somebody got arrested that night. I have no idea why. There was no call. We didn't need the officers. The family didn't need to react that way. There's a whole lot of unknown factors that go into us doing our job when it comes to these situations. I don't know what happened with the kid. We tubed him. We got him. His heart was still going, so we tubed him to breathe for him. We got him to the hospital. And as with many, many calls that I've run in my life, there's no real ability to follow up. By the next shift, it's just done. Either they're dead or they've moved, they've been transferred, or you get busy and you forget to go, hey, I brought this patient in the other day. And sometimes HIPAA, people who don't understand HIPAA or if we don't have permission, I mean, we'd have to track the family down. Then I don't want to bother the family. There's all those things. Because I guess technically speaking, I'm not sure where this falls with HIPAA. If I'm the medic that brings them in, I'm part of that medical chain of custody, if you will. I don't know if I'm still allowed to follow up and get more details other than going straight to the family with their permission. Follow up. I don't know. I know there were times when I would ask about a patient, and because I work with the doctor or the nurses, they'd give me the general information of what happened, knowing that I was the medic that brought them in. Don't know if that's legal or not. I honestly, it's been a long time since I've gone through a HIPAA class. But my point is, anything can change at any point in time. And that's our job. That's our job. I hate when people ever tried to call me a hero. And it was never in a situation where I actually saved somebody's life. It was never in a situation where I saved that kid on the side of the road, and without me, he would have died right there. Or without intervention. It happened to be me intervening. But without intervention, he would have died pretty damn quickly. And I know for a fact to save his life. I got a save award for it, blah, blah, blah. But I never got a follow-up from the family. I actually called up to the room and tried to talk to him and got shut down. Not to the kid, but to the family, and got shut down. I forget where I was going with that, but hero. That was the time when I saved the kid's life. Never got, hey, you're a hero. What do you think? None of that. The only time I've ever been called a hero is usually when nothing's going on and somebody sees a uniform and either says it sarcastically, which, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, you're serving burgers at McDonald's. So thanks for being sarcastic to me, asshole. Or they say it meaningfully without knowledge. They mean that, oh, you're a hero for doing your job. I can't tell you how many times I've had a conscious person in the back of my truck talk about it takes a special person to do what you do. Well, sure, but it takes a special person to be a teacher too. It takes a special person to do the stuff I don't want to do. You name it. I mean, I don't even want to cut my grass. It takes a special person to love cutting grass. It takes a special person to go and pick the oranges off the trees because I just want to eat the orange from the grocery store. I don't even want to pick the orange. It takes special people to do all the jobs. We're not special. There's no special other than the mentally challenged special. I see I got an angry face for that one. There's no special in EMS because it does take anybody. It takes a calling. It takes an ability to do that. And that word hero, to me, heroes are the guys who die in the line of duty. There's a line, I believe, from Batman that Alfred says, either you die the hero, you live long enough to be the villain. And it's always tragic when somebody dies in the line of duty. It's tragic when any human dies. We have reasons, right? Old people die. They've had a long life, medical issues, traumatic injuries. People die because physics, science. We do have a reason, but it's still tragic, right? Somebody lost their mom or their grandmother, or father, grandfather. Somebody lost their kid, those kind of things. It's always tragic somewhere. Human life is human life. Actually, let me rephrase that. Life is life. I eat cows all the time. Absolutely. I eat chicken. Was it the Native Americans used to do, when they made a kill, they thanked the gods or nature for providing them with sustenance and thank the spirit of the animal for providing for them. I don't go that far, but I definitely have a gratitude for my life being maintained by taking others. But taking a life is never easy. Losing a life is never easy. I am not an animal person. I am as far from wanting a pet as you can be. My wife loves animals. And even though I would never choose to have a pet, the way I see it is I've agreed to take care of that life inside of my home, and I will do everything I can to take care of that life inside of my home. So even if bills are tight, if there's something sick with the dog, if there's something wrong with the dog, take him to the vet. Let's find out what's going on. Let's take care of him. If there's something that he's going to suffer with to the end of his life, which would be, I'm making a number up. My dog is fine. But if there's something that he was going to suffer with to the end of his life for the next 6 months, then I'm going to do the humane thing and put him down. The same with if you're on a respirator as a human being and that's the only thing keeping you alive, I'm going to do the humane thing and put you down. I'm going to pull you off of life support because I think believing for a miracle and dragging things out for years is torturous. I'm going to let my people go. That was, I know, Moses popped in my head, that Pharaoh song, let my people go. But it popped in my head, so I said it. Life is life. And my entire view of being a paramedic is to give you the best quality that I personally can in those situations. And yeah, we always go into dark situations. There is no hero. There is no villain. We're not fighting death. We're not racing death. There's no ongoing war. There is life. There is energy. And what we do with that is our choice. And yeah, there's many times I've done CPR. And I've been honest about it. 9 times out of 10 doing CPR, you ain't going to get them back. You're not going to do crap, but you're going to do your job and try. That 10th time is what we do it for, to provide a life for that family, to have their family member back. Trauma, lots easier because I can untreated, unprevented, anything. I don't know why I keep trying to do an un here, but untreated, any trauma can absolutely lead to death, gangrene, sepsis, any kind of infection. Untreated trauma can easily lead to death when all we have to do is keep it clean, sew it up a little bit, and you're fine. I mean, we've turned, depending on where it hits you in the body, we've turned fatal gunshot wounds into a flesh wound. Oh, it's only a flesh wound. With science. You get shot in the arm, which is non-vital anything other than possibly nicking an artery. You get shot in the arm, untreated, there's a good chance you'll die because it'll get infected and gangrene, all that blah. But you get to the hospital within a long amount of time. I mean, you could probably get, let's just say through the hand. You get shot through the hand, you could probably go a few days before you go to the hospital and still have it be fine. Still have them clean it out, sew it up, what's going on with you. Right? That used to be a fatal wound if you got shot. You more likely would die because it got dirty. We've changed that. So that's what we do. We give you the best of life. We give you the best of life. You're sick. Early stages of a heart attack. Absolutely. Miracles of modern medicine, man. We have made it to where we can save you. You can have a great and full life. Diabetes used to be a death thing because nobody knew what it was. People would just go into comas and die. Diabetes is the easiest thing to live with nowadays. And I know Nicole's watching and she has diabetes. And she would agree. I mean, she's a fully active volunteer firefighter with diabetes and asthma. God, man, you can name all kind of things. We're here to bring the best of life. And that's what we do. And if you just view it that way, your career will be so much different. You'll be so much more calm on a scene. It will just change your life. If I had understood that in the early days of being an EMT and medic, or actually most of the days of being an EMT and medic, if I just understood we bring the best of life. We're here to recharge your batteries. Spiritual, karmic, energetic. When somebody has a broken ankle, and this is the exact call I took. I mean, it was a tib fib fracture. I mean, It was waving at us, and we can boot it. We can stabilize it. We can help you get to the hospital. We can give you some pain medications to make your life better. Stabilizing it makes it better. We can make your life better by stabilizing it. We can make it even better by giving you some pain meds. We can make it even better by getting you to a doctor who will figure out if they need to do surgery or just cast it. And then you'll get healing. Whereas on your own, it would have healed, but you'd have been miserable for weeks, and it more than likely would have been a deformity. And more than likely, you would have lived in pain the rest of your life. We brought you the best of life. We recharged your health meter if you're playing a game. We put some healing on you, right? We assisted what life wants to do. Tom has a saying, beside our best efforts, sometimes the patient lives. And I love that saying because it is a tongue-in-cheek way of saying exactly what I'm saying. We bring the best of life. We do what we can. If you're in this field to save a life, you need to really define that. Because that lady with the ankle, the tib fib fracture, I saved her life. Because I gave her a better one than she would have had without treatment. The femur fracture that I had in a car wreck on I-20, actually, he was on the motorcycle. The car was fine. He was on the motorcycle and got a femur fracture. Then traction splint goes from, oh, my God, oh, hey. Wow. What just happened? You know? Traction splint's magic when you can use it in the right situation. It is magic. Because what is this from an understandable, it wasn't out of the skin, but you could see the fracture in his leg. You could see the fracture. I mean, you could see the way it bulged, the bones were overlapping. Honestly, on a side note, this is why I see EMS Underground. It was so cool to finally see that. You can't tell the patient that. You can't act like that on the scene. But from me to you, as somebody who hopefully is thinking about getting into EMS or is in EMS, it's so cool to actually see the textbook stuff. And then to pull the traction and have it line up and him go from tons of agony. And you can see his sweat and the pale on his face. You can see the pain. And he's doing his best not to scream in our faces. He is trying so hard not to scream in our faces. I said, okay, it's going to get slightly worse. I mean, it's going to light your world up. Feel free to scream. It's fine. But it's going to get into place, and you're going to feel better. And I'm literally only telling him this because the textbooks told me that. I have no idea. I think maybe I'm lying to him. And then they go, scream, 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 click. I mean, it was, ah! Oh. I mean, it was literally, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's so cool that happened. And then, of course, we did give him morphine because there's still going to be pain and everything else. We got orders from the hospital to give him morphine because we needed to go up the road. We couldn't go to our local hospital because it was non-trauma. I mean, you used to have at least level 1s, 2, 3, and 4, 4 being the lowest. It was not even on the list as trauma. And so we called and said, hey, we're not bringing this patient to you. It is an obvious trauma. We are going to drive them up to the trauma center, especially since we're already pointed in that direction. However, we need orders for morphine, blah, blah, blah. Give him morphine, which made the ride so much better for him because the bumping's still going to grind it a little bit. That's what we do. That is what we do. I saved that guy's life because I helped him, and I gave him a better one. That's how I define it, and that's how I think if you go in looking at it that way, you do that. You know, I got one last story because Nicole puts up here. I had a kid at a birthday party tell me that one time about the hero. He saw the firefighter T-shirt and I had on, and he told his mom I was a hero. There's nothing wrong with that mentality, okay? They obviously taught the kid to respect the uniform, the symbols, whatever you recognize for the fire trucks. Hopefully that plays to EMS, but, police officers, those kind of things. There's nothing wrong with it. And that's a level of respect that you give. And it's fine. But I understand there's no understanding that goes behind that. What I hate, though, the story I want to tell is I was eating at Waffle House with my other truck. So it's 4 of us in uniform. And it was a pretty busy morning that morning. As far as the Waffle House went, it's a pretty busy morning, full Waffle House. And we're just eating our breakfast, doing our thing. And we hear a table across the way. This kid was kind of misbehaving. And I couldn't stand it. And I'll tell you why, but it's not about the kid. The kid was misbehaving, and the grandparents, parents, the caregivers, whoever they were talking to him about. I don't know his name. I'm gonna say Bobby because Bobby always pops in my head for kids' names. Bobby, you need to sit down. Bobby, I'm gonna tell your daddy. Bobby, you're gonna get spanked when we get home if you don't stop. Bobby, and then he finally went, Bobby, you see those police officers over there? I'm gonna have them arrest you, and they pointed to us. I'm gonna have them arrest you if you don't sit down, if you don't behave. And the kid looked at us, and I had to say, it's like, don't worry about it, kid. We're not police officers. We're paramedics. We'll be here to save you. And she was pissed off at me. Oh, excuse me for telling the kid the truth. Because one, you just made him scared of us, like we're going to do something to him. Two, you're trying to make him scared of police officers that if you don't behave, they're going to arrest you. Instead of being a good caregiver, parent, grandparent, whoever the hell you are, you're doing it wrong. And that irritated, and my fellow medics actually giggled and agreed with me. But I'm always been the guy to kind of just say what they think. In most situations, I definitely have proven, hope I've proven to you, I have tact to understand when a situation is that you shouldn't open your mouth. But yeah, I said that in public to that caregiver or actually to the kid, but in front of the caregiver, because we're not police officers. You should never be afraid. Okay, I'm going to say this, I'm going to qualify it. You should never be afraid of somebody in uniform, police, fire, EMS. And by that, I mean, it is on us as this public safety community to always uphold ourselves and to take care of ourselves in a way that is honorable and just and to make people feel safe when they see us. So yes, again, touching back on if you're a police officer and you wrongly arrest somebody or you wrongly shoot somebody, as has happened in the recent past, that should never happen. People should never be afraid of the badge, and there are reasons to be afraid of the badge in some situations. But when it comes to paramedic and firefighting, you should never be afraid of that uniform. We should carry ourselves and always be there to help you, no matter what, when we wear that uniform. And that's a perfect world should. That's the perfect world that I move for. So that's it for today. Been an interesting up and down. I got a feeling that I think his name was Shane. I got a feeling that Shane kind of bailed out when I wasn't going to back him up because he didn't come back with any of his arguments, and that's okay. I want you to feel free to say what you want to say here. That's what EMS Underground is all about. It is a safe space. Does that mean I'm going to agree with you or stand by you? No, that's not what safety means. Safety means you can say what you want to say, feel how you want to feel without judgment, yelling, or repercussion. However, this is a discussion. These are words going back and forth. So safety never means you can just come in and do what you want to do and have nobody say something back to you. It is going to be a give and take. I do fully appreciate. I love that Shane came in today. I love that he talked about that stuff. I love that we had the ability to discuss it. And I gave him every opportunity to write back and talk back. At some point, he stopped. So, what can I tell you? Be safe. Be as safe as you can. I do know many women who have felt super safe in this field, have no fear being a medic. I worked with Christy Cole, and Christy Cole is a little firecracker. She, as far as I know, she's still a captain or a commander over at National EMS. She was a pistol when I knew her, for sure. I mean, just a great medic, taught me a lot of stuff, looked out for me when I was on her shift, and never once had any fear of going into any situation because she was little. She was little. And she liked to be pretty. She always did a lot of makeup. She always did her hair up. She easily could have been a target for many, many people. I'm not sure how many times in her life she's ever been a serious target. I know the drunk guys especially hit on her. I know the old guys try to, as they do with females, tried to grab her a couple of times. She was never afraid of that. She knew how to handle it. She controlled it. If she felt like she had to, she would swap partners. But there was no fear. There was no fear in her. And that's something I really paid attention to. If you have fear, you deserve to be comfortable in your job. If you have fear, you need to move yourself into a place that is fearless, either internally or externally. Rules and laws will never protect you. Right and wrong will never protect you. Things can happen in this world. And if you believe they're going to happen to you, they might just. Find a place where you're comfortable, where you're fearless, where you're happy, and then do the best work you can possibly do. So that's what's going to be for EMS Underground. You can see the phone number for the school to find out about classes, 678-561-2368. Again, as I've always said, I do want to keep ending on this. If you need somebody to talk to, if you need a group just to de-stress, to talk about the concerns and have a discussion about anything that is stressing you out in EMS, please call that number. Let us know. We will arrange for a time for you to come in, maybe a group, like I said, a Paramedics Anonymous thing, where while we will know each other, nothing there, the agreement will have to be nothing in that room leaves, ever. If you just want a one-on-one, Tom's got a great office. He can talk to you. I can come in and talk to you. It's a very nice place to discuss things that is soundproof, that is solid. And let us know. Call that number. If you got a question for the show, EMSU at GAIEMS.org is right there on the screen. So do that. Of course, post your questions here, Georgia Institute of EMS. Message the page here, Georgia Institute of EMS. Subscribe here, Georgia Institute of EMS, because I would love it when you come out live. You change the discussion. Disagree with me all you want, but know we can have a rational adult discussion, and we're going to talk it out. Until then, find out more about me at charlesmcfall.com. You can see all the different podcasts and shows that I do. Charles McFall on Facebook, at Rock Gotta Podcasting on Facebook, and at Rock Gotta Pod on Twitter. Check me out. Until next time, thank you for coming along. Thank you for doing the job that you do, and let's get out there and help somebody.